You're listening to the Broken Havoc podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the frickin' referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. What's up, everybody? It is Broken Havoc here, right here on the Broken Havoc podcast, here to review AEW Dynamite from April 13th, 2022, coming to us from New Orleans, Louisiana. This is the first time that AEW Dynamite is in New Orleans. Overall, this was a great show, but unfortunately, this show was overshadowed and got a lot of backlash from that really bad ending that happened on Dynamite. Of course, it was that botched debut, which I did not like either. I hated that ending. I'll talk about that later on the review. But we also had other good stuff that happened on the show. Of course, CM Punk made his return, and he faced Penta El Cerro in a great opening match. We had other stuff. We had the Jericho Appreciation Society taking on Eddie Kingston and Santana and Ortiz. We had a lot of stuff. We had Jurassic Express taking on Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, Red Dragon, for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. And it's safe to say that I was wrong. I thought that Red Dragon were going to take the World Tag Team Championships, but that wasn't the case. And we got a lot of other stuff to talk about right here on the Dynamite review. MJF. Yes, MJF wants to, he wanted to pay a referee, more money so that he won't count him out, which was hilarious. We had Hook. Hook is going to be wrestling for the first time on Dynamite next week. Tony Khan also has a huge announcement. What is that huge announcement? We'll talk about it later on right here on the AEW Dynamite review. But before I get on with the AEW Dynamite review, make sure to like and subscribe to the Broken Havoc podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the frickin' referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, the Broken Havoc podcast is now available on audio formats. It's available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and Google Podcasts. So if you guys want to check out the Broken Havoc podcast and listen to it in audio format, it's available on those platforms. All right, let's get on with the Dynamite review. Dynamite kicked off with CM Punk taking on Penta Oscuro. Overall, this is a really good opening match. The crowd, and by the way, man, I forgot to mention this, Ricky Starks was extremely over, and he's a heel, and he was extremely over in his hometown of New Orleans, so we're going to talk about that later on as well in the review. But CM Punk and Penta Oscuro kicked off AEW Dynamite, and which was a really good match. I definitely enjoyed the match for what it was. It was a great match. Of course, CM Punk is on his way towards the World Championship, and the most likely match that I believe that's going to be happening at Double or Nothing is going to be Hangman Page defending his title against CM Punk, in which CM Punk takes the AEW World Championship, and we're going to be having the Summer of Punk once again in 2022. But let's talk about CM Punk versus Penta Oscuro. It was a great match. It was kind of random that Penta Oscuro was going to be the one to face CM Punk. I actually expected somebody different, but Penta's a great talent, and right now he's on his own, mainly because Rey Fenix is out currently injured, which I believe he's on his way back to recovery. I think he's going to be making a return in the next couple of weeks. We'll have to wait and see about that. But if you guys don't recall, Rey Fenix injured his arm on January 5th, I believe it was. That was the Prudential Center show, which I attended. And by the way, that was a brutal injury. I was there when it happened. It looked really scary. We literally thought that, Rey Fenix was actually, he actually broke his arm, but that wasn't the case. But most likely, Rey Fenix is going to be making his return in the next couple of weeks. We'll have to wait and see where that goes. But as of right now, Pentagon Jr. is now on his own right now. He's been on his own for a while, but I forgot to mention that. But CM Punk versus Penta Oscuro. Overall, it was a great match. I definitely enjoyed the match. I loved the finish of the match as well. Really enjoyed the finish. But both face off. Penta pushes Punk. Then Punk pushes Penta back. We get a kick by Punk. Then we get a chop by Punk, and then a chop by Penta. So both exchange chops. Bro, this whole show was like chop-a-mania right here. And I love using the word mania at the end of almost every term. Rematch-a-mania, name-change-a-mania. This was chop-a-mania on AEW Dynamite. I ain't gonna lie, man. Samoa Joe versus Minoru Suzuki. And I know I'm going a little bit off topic right here, but the main event, oh my God, it was a complete chop fest. Speaking of chops right there. But both exchange chops, both fight it out. Penta goes for a thrust kick. We get a spinning kick by Punk. Punk goes for a forearm, and then he hits a hip toss. Then after that, Punk hits a leg drop. We get a cover and a near fall. Punk goes for a chop, and then he picks up Penta. He tries to hit the GTS, but then Penta transitions it and counters into an ankle lock, which looked awesome. Penta escapes, and then he sends Penta face first to the corner. We get a rising knee strike by Punk, and then Penta hits a sling blade. We get a cover engineer fall. We get a kick to the knee of Punk. Then Punk gets sent to the outside, and then Penta slides out, but then Punk slides back in and hits a suicide dive. Once we go to commercial break, Punk is in control. During the break, he hits a suplex, and we get a cover and a near fall. Once we're back from break, Punk is on the top. Penta goes for a Gamangiri. Penta goes to the top and hits a headbutt. Then after that, both fight it out on the top. Then Punk steps off the top rope. So what happens is I think he tried to go for a Hurricane Rana / a Frankensteiner. A lot of people like debate, oh my God, it's a Frankensteiner. Oh my God, it's a Hurricane Rana, but whatever. It's a Hurricane Rana / Frankensteiner. It's the same shit. But what happened there is that he tried to go for a Frankensteiner and he actually fell off. So what happened after that, Punk is selling his knee. So Punk fell off. And when Penta tried to Irish whip Punk to the corner, Punk actually was really smart enough that he sold his name, which was really cool, which was really good because, I believe that was the botch. I believe his original intentions was that he tried to go for a Frankensteiner, but he fell off. I think that was the case, and it looked really bad. But once he got Irish whipped into the corner, he actually did not land on the turnbuckle. He actually continued to sell his knee. So he was selling, the botch. So he basically saved himself from embarrassment, which was really good. After that, Penta takes Punk to the top. Punk fights back. Punk then escapes and takes Penta to the top. He hits a Hurricane Rana on Penta. We get a rising knee by Punk. He picks up Penta for the GTS, but then Penta fires back with a couple of elbows. Penta then targets the arm of Punk after that. Then Punk reverses it and applies the Anaconda Vice. Penta then gets his foot onto the bottom rope. Punk and Penta then exchange shots on the apron. We get a right hand by Punk and a chop by Penta. We get a bunch of exchanges right there. We get a kick by Penta, and he wants to hit the Fear Factor on Punk on the apron, but then Punk reverses it for a pile driver attempt, but Penta escapes. We get a high kick by Punk, but then Punk hits a springboard lariat. We get a rising knee by Punk, but then Punk picks up Penta. Then after that, Penta catches for the Fear Factor, but then Punk blocks it. But then Punk tries to go for a kick, but then Penta blocks again. Penta hits a beautiful Enziguri, and bro, Penta, when I mean it was a beautiful Enziguri, that was a really, that Enziguri connected really good. Penta works on the arm, and we get a bunch of roll-up reversals. And then after that, we get a kick by Penta to the face of CM Punk. Then we get a middle rope springboard caught by Punk, and then Punk catches. So this was the finish. So Penta tried to go for a springboard off the middle rope, but then once he hit the springboard, he actually got caught by Punk, and then Punk picked him up and hit the GTS, which was a fantastic finish. We get a cover, and CM Punk gets the pin. Overall, this is a great match. I loved the finish. The finish looked fantastic in my opinion. That was just a great visual to see when Penta tried to go for the springboard, but then got caught and Punk hit the GTS. Great match overall. I definitely enjoyed it for what it was. Definitely excited for Rey Fenix to return so he can team back with Penta and all the possible matches that we're going to get with the Lucha Bros, man. I would love to see a Red Dragon taking on the Lucha Bros. I don't even think we got that match already. Correct me if I'm wrong, but overall, I'm definitely excited to see where this goes in the near future. Also, CM Punk, man, is on a roll, and he's definitely on his way to the World Championship. We're going to have to wait and see what happens this coming Friday on Rampage, because Rampage is actually going to be live this Friday, and it's going to be Adam Cole versus Hangman Adam Page in a Texas death match for the AEW Championship, which is going to be a fantastic match. Great match. I'm definitely excited for that. Not only that, who's going to win? I definitely do see Hangman Page winning it, but honestly, we do not know what the hell is going to happen, so we're going to have to wait and see. But honestly, I believe the match that's going to happen is CM Punk versus Hangman Page for the AEW World title, in which CM Punk goes over at Double or Nothing. So those are my thoughts on that, but honestly, right now, CM Punk is on a freaking roll. Earlier today, the Jericho Appreciation Society arrived in a private jet. Of course, they're sports entertainers, so they have, that extravagant lifestyle. Eddie Kingston and Santana and Ortiz are in the car, so they run through 2.0, and then they drive off. And what happens is Ortiz grabs one of the members of 2.0, Jeff Parker's, I believe it was, or Matt Lee. I keep forgetting their new names. Honestly, I keep forgetting their new names, but he stole 2.0 shoes, which was hilarious. But Jurassic Express versus Red Dragon for the AEW World Tag Team titles. Overall, this is an awesome match. I loved the match. It was a great match. Jurassic Express is amazing at what they do. I've been enjoying their World Tag Team Championship run. I know a lot of people that don't. didn't, don't enjoy their run, but I enjoy it for what it is. Honestly, I definitely expected Red Dragon to win the tag team titles, but that is not the case. Who do I think is possibly going to win the tag team championships? Honestly, I mean, you never know. I mean, you got Santana and Ortiz right there. They're definitely on a roll for the tag team championships. And right now, the tag team division is like the best it's ever been, mainly because of FTR. FTR has been on a roll. They're by far, in my opinion, I genuinely believe that FTR is the best tag team right now in the world. You can say the Young Bucks, you can say anybody else, but honestly, FTR right now is on a roll, man. They had two like classic matches like in a row, like back to back. Like they had the fantastic match with the Briscoes at Supercard of Honor. Not only that, they had the fantastic match against the Young Bucks, their second match against the Young Bucks for the Ring of Honor and AAA Tag Team Championships last week on Dynamite, which is an amazing ass match. The crowd was definitely on their feet. But Red Dragon is there. They're amazing, and honestly, I wouldn't mind them if they had won the AEW Championship Tag Team titles. But Jurassic Express retained the belts. So Bobby Fish and Jungle Boy start. We get a side headlock by Jungle Boy. We get a shoulder tackle by Jungle Boy. We get a beautiful Hurricane Rana and then a drop kick by Jungle Boy. Fish goes for a knee, and then Fish is in control. Kyle O'Reilly tags in. We get a couple of knees by Kyle. We get a side chin lock by O'Reilly. We get a blind tag by Luchasaurus. We get a double team attempt by Jurassic Express. Luchasaurus then goes for a boot on Fish onto the apron. We get a cover and a near fall. Kyle then ducks the boot. Fish then tags in, and he hits a dragon screw, sending Luchasaurus to the outside. And then Kyle hits a dragon screw on Luchasaurus on the outside as well. Then we get a cover by Fish and a near fall. Kyle O'Reilly then tags in. We get a couple of body shots by Bobby Fish. We get a kick to the knee of Luchasaurus by Kyle O'Reilly, and then he proceeds to target the knee. Fish then tags in, and he hits a senton over the top. We get a cover by Fish and a near fall. Luchasaurus then regains control, and then he hits a knee strike on Kyle O'Reilly. Then Jungle Boy then tags in. He works on Red Dragon. He slams Fish, and then he runs into a knee by Kyle O'Reilly. Jungle Boy then fires back into a comeback lariat. Then Fish gets taken to the outside. Jungle Boy then goes for a tope suicida. So he goes for three. He tries to go for three tope suicidas, but the third time Kyle O'Reilly makes a save. But then Luchasaurus hits a moonsault on the outside. Then, craziness is going on. Fish is on the outside, and then Jungle Boy hits a somersault out of nowhere, which looked awesome. Jungle Boy is definitely one of a kind. Jungle Boy then is on the apron, but then Red Dragon regained control. Once we're back from break, Kyle O'Reilly applies a cross arm breaker submission. We get a roll up by Jungle Boy, but we get a near fall. O'Reilly's in control over Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy then goes for an arm drag. Luchasaurus then makes the tag, and then he takes out both members of Red Dragon, and then he takes out Red Dragon in each corner. So one corner is Bobby Fish, and the other corner is Kyle O'Reilly, and he takes them both out with back shots. We get a German suplex by Luchasaurus. We get a double clothesline as well. Then after that, he goes for the double choke slam, and then goes for the standing moonsault. So typical Luchasaurus stuff. Good shit right there. We get a cover and a near fall. Then Jungle Boy wants to tag in, but then Fish takes him down. We get a chop block by Kyle O'Reilly. We get a running knee. We get running knee exchanges by Red Dragon. Jurassic Express then regains control. We get a double team attempt by Jurassic Express off the top with an elbow drop by Jungle Boy. We get a cover and a near fall. Then Fish misses a kick. Kyle O'Reilly then tags in. And then Kyle O'Reilly hits a butterfly suplex. He hits a German. We get a cover by O'Reilly and a near fall. Then he applies the cross arm breaker. Jungle Boy then makes it to the bottom rope. We get a right hand by Kyle O'Reilly, and then Jungle Boy is on the top. Luchasaurus then comes in, and then he hits a boot on Bobby Fish. Fish then comes back, and then Fish is on the top. Fish goes for an avalanche Falcon Arrow, which looked amazing. So what happened during the match, it looked like the visual looked like he was going to go on top of, I believe, who was down? Who did he hit the Avalanche Falcon? I didn't write it on my notes. I think it was Fish that he hit the... No, Fish was the one that hit it. I think he hit it on Jungle Boy. And what happened was, I believe, Luchasaurus and Kyle O'Reilly were actually on the mat. And it looked like they were going to go on top of them. But no, he actually went over, which looked amazing. I completely forgot who Fish hit the Falcon Arrow on. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, please. I didn't write that in my notes because I was so in tune with the match. We get a cover and a near fall when Luchasaurus plants Kyle on Bobby Fish. Kyle and Luchasaurus then exchange shots after that. We get a super kick by Jungle Boy. We get a rolling elbow by Kyle O'Reilly. Then Jungle Boy goes for the Tornado DDT. Then they hit the Jurassic Express. We get a cover, and Jurassic Express retain the AEW World Tag Team Championships. But what happens after that? Kyle O'Reilly attacks Jurassic Express with the chair, and after that, they're just off to the races when it comes to attacking them after the match. And then Red Dragon is on the ramp. Kyle O'Reilly looks pissed off, same as Bobby Fish. But what happens? FTR's fantastic Midnight Express music comes up, and what happens? FTR comes out, and they face off against Red Dragon. A lot of people are saying they're targeting the Jurassic Express, but honestly, after watching this, they were definitely, after they were facing off against Red Dragon, it looks like we probably got a possible match with FTR taking on Red Dragon for the Ring of Honor and AAA Tag Team Championships. Honestly, I want that match to happen. I would love... Honestly, bro, FTR is one of my favorite things of AEW Dynamite. They're arguably my favorite tag team. Like, I deadass mark out all the time for FTR. And not only that, man, when they faced off against Red Dragon, I instantly tweeted, Tony Khan, book that shit. Book. FTR versus Red Dragon for the AEW... Not the AEW, for the Ring of Honor and AAA Tag Team Championships. Honestly... I'm excited for that. I hope that happens because it's a great money-making match in my opinion. Not only that, FTR is definitely on a roll, and they're definitely in contention for a lot of really good match of the year caliber matches. 2 of them to be exact. Them against the Briscoes and them against the Young Bucks. But we're gonna have to wait and see what happens there. But overall, man, that was great to see. Overall thoughts on the match itself with Jurassic Express and Red Dragon. I definitely enjoyed the match. It was a fun match to watch. I actually expected Red Dragon to go over and win the titles, but that was not the case. So they're definitely going to wait on that. But it looks like right now they're going to be feuding with FTR, but we're going to have to wait and see in the near future. The Blackpool Combat Club. We get a backstage interview with the Blackpool Combat Club, of course. This past Friday on Rampage, we had the amazing match with Wheeler Yuta and Jon Moxley, in which, as Excalibur stated on commentary, Wheeler Yuta took Jon Moxley to the limit. It was a fantastic match. It was a bloodbath, as I stated on my Rampage and SmackDown review. Wheeler Yuta is a made man. He's a star, and he's going to do great things when he's a part of the Blackpool Combat Club. But they talk about their trios match this Friday on Rampage. Again, Rampage is going to be live. They're going to be fighting the Gun Club, the Ass Boys, the Gun Club. And I definitely do see the Blackpool Combat Club going over because they're one of the best things on AEW television right now. FTR and the Blackpool Combat Club are like one of my 2 favorite things on AEW television, period, man. It was awesome. But they're going to be wrestling the Gun Club, and they're definitely going to be going over. But, man, again, that match that Wheeler Yuta had, oh, my God. Oh, my God. I botched that. My bad. I touched my mixer by accident, and I messed up everything. So my apologies with the audio right there. But yeah, man, the Blackpool Combat Club, one of my favorite things on AEW television. It brings something different to the table. Not only that, I'm just, Wheeler Yuta's a made man, and we're going to have to wait and see what happens in the near future, man. A lot of people are saying trios championships. Honestly, I would love to see Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson take on FTR, man. That'd be an awesome match. And I don't care what anybody says. I'm a fan of FTR, and I will always be a fan of FTR, period. I'm a mark for them, okay? All right. Tony Storm and Jamie Hayter in a backstage interview. Basically, Jamie Hayter talks shit in front of Tony Storm. They've been going at it backstage for the past couple of weeks. And Tony Khan booked Storm and Hayter for the first round. I believe it's the first round of the Owen Hart tournament for the women. Definitely excited to see what happens in this match. I'm really curious to see what goes on. But we don't have brackets for the tournament yet, so we're gonna have to wait and see what happens. But it's definitely a match to look at. We got MJF versus Shawn Dean for I believe the second time or the third time. I think it's the second time. Correct me if I'm wrong. But MJF. So of course the story is Wardlow and MJF, which their feud has been fantastic, man. I was somebody that really I cared about the Wardlow thing, but I didn't really pay attention. I didn't pay attention to it a lot, and I really didn't see the potential in it. But honestly, now the potential of the whole Wardlow and MJF thing, that is definitely, this whole build for this match basically made it into a pay-per-view quality match. Because I expected MJF to take on Hangman Page for the championship at Double or Nothing, but most likely it's going to be Wardlow versus MJF, which Now, looking at the entire build, it makes perfect sense. I actually expected that match to happen on like a special episode of Dynamite, but boy, my dumbass was wrong. But overall, man, the whole build with Wardlow and MJF has been really good for the past couple of weeks, and the way that they have been building Wardlow, I mean, like, bro, this guy is going to go to superstar status. Period. I don't care what anybody says. And Wardlow's the type of guy that really Vince McMahon loves. Vince McMahon, we all hear these stories that Vince McMahon loves big men, and Wardlow is definitely that type of guy. So, Wardlow is definitely going to be a star, 100%. But we get MJF versus the captain, Shawn Dean. MJF, so the norm of this match is MJF, of course, is doing heel tactics. So MJF can't unzip his jacket. He asks Shawn Spears for help. But then what happens after that, he takes a while, but MJF goes for a cheap shot, and he takes out Shawn Dean. So basically, again, typical heel tactic, MJF swerved us all, and then he sends Dean into the corner. Then all of a sudden, when MJF is working on Shawn Dean, what happens? The backstage camera crew shows the security guards being laid out, and there's this one security guard that had his shirt off, and I'm like, okay, why would you have that? Why do you have your shirt off? It makes no sense. I know you got attacked, but like, really? Can't over-exaggerate that much. But he sends Dean into the corner. So after that, MJF takes Shawn to the outside, and then he sends Dean to the guardrail, and then he takes him back in the ring. But what happens? MJF, of course, is gloating that he's beating the shit out of Shawn Dean. But what happens? Somebody disguised as a security guard behind MJF reveals himself, and it's Wardlow. So Wardlow disguised himself as a security guard, and Spears comes in with the chair, but then security comes in, and he basically powerbombs security on the apron. So after that, MJF begs the referee. So Wardlow is absolutely going ballistic at this point. And MJF, who ran off like a dumbass, because that's who he is, MJF, he begs the referee. So he's on the stage, right? And I love this. MJF is on the stage, and he grabs the microphone, and he says, I will pay you triple of what Tony Khan pays you if you do not count me out. Of course, it's a normal match, so if you lose via countout, and definitely the rankings matter as well, because wins and losses matter in AEW. But MJF begging the referee, that is such a douche heel thing to do. I don't care what anybody says, man. That is so entertaining to watch. MJF again, bro. MJF 100% is a made man, man. This guy is going to be a superstar status. You never know. He could possibly go to the WWE in 2024. But honestly, if he wants to go to the WWE, I don't give a single shit. But he's totally fine where he is right now in AEW. And honestly, he's a douchebag. That's his character. He's a douchebag. But that was such an awesome thing to see. That was a hilarious thing to see, him begging the referee to pay that he will pay him more money, if he doesn't count him out. But what happens after that? The referee, it looked like he was about to sell out, but instead he did not sell out, and he actually counted out MJF. So Shawn Dean gets the win, and then MJF argues with the referee after that. Meanwhile, Wardlow then gets taken by a bunch of security guards and all that shit. So yeah, man. Overall, man, this whole feud with Wardlow has been really good, man. I love what they're doing with the feud. To me, this is definitely going to make Wardlow a household name, in my opinion. Not only that, it's definitely elevating MJF before he makes that big jump to the World Championship title scene. Honestly, I still wish he went to the World Championship title scene now, but right now they're doing the whole feud with Wardlow, which makes perfect sense. I didn't view this whole feud with Wardlow as something like major, huge, but from the way that they're doing it, honestly, book it on the pay-per-view. I do not mind. All right, we get a video package of Darby Allin having an empty coffin in the middle of the street. Of course, he's going to be facing Andrade in a coffin match. We get the House of Black video package on Darby Allin. I think it was on Darby Allin or Fuego Doso. I completely forgot what he stated in the segment. I wasn't really paying attention to that. Usually when it comes to those types of video packages, I just take the notes and like boom, I just say what happens there. But really, to be quite honest with you, the House of Black, although I have been enjoying the work of the House of Black, to be quite honest with you, I'm not really as interested in the House of Black. I love the House of Black and I love what they're doing, but I'm not really as interested in what they're doing, mainly because I'm more interested in guys like the Blackpool Combat Club, CM Punk, and also FTR. Really, those are my main guys that I'm definitely interested in. And of course, the MJF and Wardlow feud. That's just me. Nothing against the House of Black. They're really good at what they do. I'm just saying, to me, I'm just not as invested. All right. We get the Jericho Appreciation Society with Chris Jericho, Daniel Garcia, and Jake Hager taking on Eddie Kingston and Santana and Ortiz. Overall, this was a great match. Of course, a fun match. Of course, the Jericho Appreciation Society got the win at the end. And there's this feud is a never ending feud, 100%. But we got a lot of things to talk about, and after that I go through the match. I'm actually going to talk about where I think this is going to be going, because Tony Khan did state that we do have Blood and Guts happening this year. We do not know when. I believe he stated it's going to happen in the summer. But honestly, this whole feud right here, sounds like a Blood and Guts caliber match, and I'll talk about that later on. But of course, Ortiz has the shoes of Angelo Parker. Santana and Jericho start. Of course, Jericho flips the bird throughout the entire crowd, which is hilarious. Of course, Jericho, being the sports entertainer he is doing a bunch of heel shit. Santana takes Jericho into the corner. He hits repeated rights on Jericho. He sends Jericho into the corner and then takes him down. We get a kick by Ortiz. Both exchange shots. We get a takedown by Santana, and then we get repeated rights on Jericho. Kingston and Ortiz brawl with the Jericho Appreciation Society on the outside. Santana then chases Jericho on the outside. Ortiz then makes the tag. We get a double team by Santana and Ortiz. Later, Ortiz is the legal man. Hager's the legal man. He hits a clothesline and a power slam, that being Jake Hager. Garcia makes the tag. We get a double team by Jericho and Garcia. Jericho then makes the tag. We get once we go to commercial break and we're back from break, Ortiz and Jericho exchange shots. Jericho then hits a drop kick. He goes for a right hand on Ortiz. He tries to go for the line salt but misses. Ortiz then fires into the lariat. Then Garcia tags in. Kingston then makes the tag. He takes out the entire JAS. We get an enziguri on Hager. We get a knee on Garcia. We get an underhook suplex by Kingston. Then Santana hits the Three Amigos on Garcia. Of course, a nice little tribute right there to Eddie Guerrero. Santana goes to the top and hits the all-famous frog splash. Then we get a cover by Santana on Garcia and a near fall. Kingston then tags in. We get a couple of fast chops on Garcia by Kingston in the corner. Then Santana plants Garcia to the mat. Ortiz then makes the tag. He goes to the middle rope and hits a leg drop. Hager then comes in. Then Kingston takes him out. Eddie then out of nowhere goes for the suicide dive. Santana and Ortiz want to go for the street sweeper, but Jericho interferes. Then 2.0 come in for the save, helping the Jericho Appreciation Society because that's what heels do. Ortiz then hits a somersault on 2.0. Kingston then makes a tag. He hits an exploder on Garcia. But what happens when Eddie Kingston was about to run the ropes? Jericho, who has his baseball bat, that being Floyd, hits him onto the back of Eddie Kingston. And we get what happens after that. He hits the Judas effect on Ortiz, that being Jericho, which he is the legal man. We get a cover, and the Jericho Appreciation Society win the match. Overall thoughts on actually, no, he did not hit the Judas effect on Ortiz. My bad. That was actually after the match. We get a cover by Garcia, and the Jericho Appreciation Society win the match. My apologies right there. But the JAS win the match, and then, the Jericho Appreciation Society then attack Eddie Kingston and Santana and Ortiz after the match. So what are my thoughts on this whole, feud going on, and where do I think this is going to be leading to? Honestly, there's a lot of possibilities for this possible match. A lot of people can say, Stadium Stampede, but honestly, I do not think Stadium Stampede is going to be happening this year, mainly because of the fact that it's going to be happening inside of an arena. So Stadium Stampede ain't going to happen. But the possible match that I think is like a really good match that, this feud is definitely can be built around is Blood and Guts. The reason why I say Blood and Guts, and, there are two different feuds that you can do when it comes to Blood and Guts, that being this feud or the feud with the Elite and the Undisputed Elite, because the Undisputed Elite feud makes perfect sense. And also Adam Cole has a history in War Games, so it makes it all even better. But the problem with that is Kenny Omega hasn't come back yet. So if Kenny Omega had came back and they did the entire turn with Adam Cole and, Red Dragon on the Young Bucks and Omega, I get it. They should do Blood and Guts for that feud, but we do not know when Kenny Omega is going to be coming back. So I feel like right now this feud is definitely a good backup for that. And honestly, I do not mind if this feud definitely had Blood and Guts implications on it. Now, granted, Eddie Kingston and Santana and Ortiz are only 3 members. The Jericho Appreciation Society has 5 members. So who are the other 2 members that, Eddie Kingston and Santana and Ortiz can possibly have? Well, Eddie Kingston and Santana and Ortiz have history with LAX. So why not? And this can be an awesome thing. And we do not know. I do not know what Homicide or Hernandez are doing, but Could you imagine if they brought in one of the two original members of LAX? Because the original members of LAX back in TNA in 2006 was Conan, Hernandez, and Homicide. Could you imagine if they brought in Homicide and Hernandez to team up with Eddie Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz, and they took out the entire they fought against the entire Jericho Appreciation Society inside of Blood and Guts, and like Conan was like like their like manager type. Could you imagine? That'd be awesome. I hope that happens, and I hope that this whole feud leads to a Blood and Guts match, because honestly, this is the best feud to have a Blood and Guts match, and I'm definitely excited where this feud is going to be going. And I love the whole, and again, I constantly say this on my Dynamite review, but I can't, it's true. I love the fact that they're calling themselves sports entertainers, that being the JAS, because that's the AEW knows their audience. That's just me. We get a backstage interview with MJF. MJF is pissed off that he lost via countout. Mark Sterling then comes in and says MJF has the right to put Wardlow to work, and says that he gives money to Jose, which was great to see, and he assigns a match with Wardlow versus Butcher next week. So we're gonna have to wait and see what happens there. Of course, Wardlow is going to be going over. It makes the perfect sense. All right, here's one match that was not good whatsoever. It actually sucked. Marina Shafir versus Sky Blue. Overall, I stated last week on my Dynamite review, now, I do not watch Dark. I don't watch Dark at all, mainly because there's just too much wrestling to watch right now. And which is a good thing. People say, oh, you're oversaturating the market. But nah, it's actually a good thing that there's a lot of wrestling, because, it gives options. But I do not watch Dark. I know a lot of people do. There's an audience for Dark, but I do not watch Dark. But Marina Shafir, she, they've been saying that she had some really good matches on Dark or something like that. But honestly, this is my first Marina Shafir match. I do not even watch NXT because there's no reason for me to watch NXT, in my opinion. But, to me, this match wasn't good at all. To me, I felt like the entire crowd in New Orleans was absolutely dead. Really, the only thing that was like well noted and like the only good thing about the match was the entire baddie section, because the only interesting thing in that baddie section was Red Velvet and Kiera Hogan. Yes, they're officially part of Jade Cargill's baddie section, which we'll see what happens there. But I've seen Kiera Hogan. She's really good in the ring. Same as Red Velvet. She's definitely improving there, and honestly, this can definitely elevate Red Velvet. But overall, this match was a short match, but this match wasn't good whatsoever. It really wasn't. Let's be honest right here. It was not a good match. So Jade Cargill is taking notes backstage. Of course, Red Velvet and Kiera Hogan are a part of Jade Cargill's baddie section. Marina then catches Sky Blue. She drops her down to the mat. Marina's in control. She hits an overhead throw. Marina then goes for a waist lock after Blue tries to take a shot. We get a roll through by Marina. She applies a triangle, and Sky Blue taps out. The crowd was extremely dead throughout this entire match, and rightfully so. Really, I did not care about this match whatsoever. I'm just telling the God's honest truth. This match was just it was boring. It was not good, and it was boring. That's really the whole gist of it. We get a backstage interview with the all-famous Hook, man. Hook is going to be a megastar in the next couple years. Mark my words. Tony Nese comes in, and Mark Sterling comes in, and he will be wrestling on Dynamite next week. Yes, Hook will be making his Dynamite debut next week, which I'm excited for, because really the only thing we have seen of Hook is on Rampage, which is great to see. One of the things that I like about Rampage is that it has its own unique segments, and it proves that you do not need a split roster to have wrestlers wrestle only on one show. Rampage was basically Hook's show. Not only that, I love the unique segments that Rampage has. That's what makes the show different. And it proves that you do not need a split roster to basically, have the shows be different from one another. But Hook will be wrestling on Dynamite next week. And so what happens, Hook threatens Tony Nese. Well, actually, no. Nese actually talks shit on Hook, saying, oh my God, I don't got the spotlight, all that stuff. But then Hook stands up. He basically threatens Tony Nese, but they leave. And then what happens? Danhausen. Of course, Danhausen, we all know he tried to curse Hook, but Hook is that damn cool that he can't get cursed because he's a fucking badass. So he tries to curse Hook, but what happens? He throws I think it was a basketball or like one of those like heavy ass balls, and he throws it on Danhausen. What the hell was Danhausen wearing, by the way? What the hell was he wearing? But yeah, man, Danhausen, I don't care what anybody says. I enjoy Danhausen. And this is the type of person, like, I hate over the top shit in wrestling. And like, honestly though, like Danhausen to me is just entertaining. I get a kick of it. I don't know why. It's something about it, like, Danhausen is doing a lot of shit. I'm definitely doing, a lot of entertaining things. Danhausen just spoke right there. That was just me impersonating Danhausen, by the way. But yeah, man, Danhausen's pretty entertaining, and also Hook is going to be a star, and he's going to get a mega pop next week on Dynamite. Mark my words. Scorpio Sky, Ethan Page, and Dan Lambert. We get a backstage segment, and they continue to talk down Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti, and it's been made official. This Saturday at Battle of the Belts 2, it's going to be Sammy Guevara taking on Scorpio Sky for the TNT Championship. It's going to be a great match. I'm definitely looking forward to see who I think is going to be winning. It makes all the total sense for Scorpio Sky to go over because they're building up to his undefeated streak, and it makes total sense for Scorpio Sky to go over. And also, a lot of people are actually getting tired of Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti. I don't mind it, but honestly, I just don't care. Like, I don't care, but I definitely understand why people think they're annoying. They kind of really are because they're really shoving down our throats their entire relationship. And honestly, I get it. I totally get it. And I'm not going to talk down upon it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Like, to me, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh my God, Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti is the best thing ever. Because let's be honest, it's not. And, a lot of people are saying they should turn heel. And honestly, that's not a bad idea. But to me, I couldn't give a single shit about that. But, Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti, they did get a negative reaction from the crowd. And I believe on Rampage last week, they edited the boos out. And if that is the case, AEW, do not sell out like that. Don't do shit like that, please. That is something WWE does. If there is boos in the crowd, it must be for a reason. Do not edit out boos from the crowd. Don't do what WWE does. Because to be quite honest with you, that's just pettiness right there. It's really dumb and stupid. Do not do that. But yeah. We got Powerhouse Hobbs versus Ricky Starks. Well, not versus Ricky Starks. Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks, that being Team Taz, taking on Limitless Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. Of course, Ricky Starks is over as a motherfucker because New Orleans is his hometown. This was definitely a great match to see, man. And I tweeted this out on Twitter. I tweeted this out after the match is over. Bro, Ricky Starks does the best spear. I don't care what anybody says. The way Ricky Starks hits the spear, I don't know why. It gets a huge pop. Not only that, you can tell it's really impactful. I don't give a shit what anybody says. He does the best spear in the entire business right now. Okay? And I'm sorry, Edge. Edge is awesome, but Ricky Starks does an awesome ass spear. But Starks, as I stated earlier, is over. Swerve Strickland and Ricky Starks start. Hobbs makes the tag. We get a bunch of Bask in His Glory chants. And what happens, we get a shoulder tackle by Hobbs. We get a fall-away slam by Hobbs on Swerve. Then Starks makes the tag. Stark then balances onto the top rope, and then he hits the shoulder of Swerve. We get a shoulder tackle by Starks. We get a roll-up by Swerve. We get a Hurricane Rana by Swerve. And then he hits a drop kick. Keith Lee then makes the tag. He tries to go for the double overhand chop, but then Starks escapes. Both Swerve and Lee then take Starks into the corner. Then what happens? Swerve holds on to Ricky Starks, and Lee goes for the stiff-ass double overhand chop. We get a cover by Swerve and a 1 count. Lee then makes the tag. Then Lee then sends Hobbs to the outside. Swerve makes the tag after that. Then they launch off of Lee and hit a moonsault. Yes, he hits. So what happens is Swerve, literally, so I believe they're on the apron, And what happens is Swerve is on the top, and Lee, he jumps off the top and goes on top of Lee, and deadass manages to hit a moonsault from Lee. That was amazing. I don't care what anybody says. That was amazing. And I've stated this last year when he was still in NXT, bro. Swerve is a star. You can tell, he's 100% a star. Once we're back from commercial break, Hobbs then drops Swerve, but then Swerve counters into a dropkick. Lee then makes the tag, and then we get a couple of shoulder tackles by Keith Lee. He works on Starks and then hits a headbutt. Then Hobbs enters the fray. We get a knee strike by Starks. We get a leapfrog by Lee, and it leads to Hobbs running to Starks. Lee then throws Starks onto Hobbs. We get a spinning kick and a forearm combination by both Lee and Swerve on Starks. We get a cover and near fall. At this point, Swerve is the legal man. Then Starks reverses the half and half. Starks then goes to the outside, and then Swerve goes for a pump kick. Then Swerve is on the apron, but then he takes down Hobbs from the apron. He tries to roll over the top rope, but then he gets caught into a beautiful spear by Ricky Starks after that. As I've stated earlier, he does an amazing ass spear. And then he hits a freaking Canadian Destroyer. Petey Williams is listening alive and well. Yes, it's the greatest. It's the greatest move in the history of professional wrestling. The Canadian Destroyer. We get a cover into near fall. Starks is on the top, but then it gets dropped on Keith Lee. We get a cover by Lee and a near fall. Then Hobbs and Lee face off. We get an Insigiri by Starks on Lee. Hobbs then makes the tag. But what happens? Taz comes in, and he wants to go for the Rochambeau. We get a bunch of forearms by Lee. But when Taz comes in, we get a bunch of ECW chants. This is a pure example on why the New Orleans crowd is so hot. And, of course, Taz made a big name for himself in ECW. Starks gets taken down. Hobbs then tries to go and to throw Swerve to the post, but then Swerve pushes Hobbs to the post. Starks then is on the top. He hits a spear on Lee from the middle rope, which is amazing. We get a 450 splash by Swerve, but then what happens when Lee runs the ropes, Taz grabs the boot of Keith Lee. Hobbs then proceeds to hit the spine buster, and then Hobbs and Starks win the match. Overall thoughts on this match. This is a great match. Ricky Starks was extremely over, and if I'm talking a little bit down a little bit, I'm getting really tired. My apologies. But overall, this is a great match. I definitely enjoyed it. Ricky Starks, again, was over as hell. He does the best spear in the history of the business right now, aside from Edge, of course. But overall, it was a great match. Swerve looked great. Keith Lee looked great. Powerhouse Hobbs, of course, looked great. The pop that Taz got when he came out was insane. But overall, great match. We get a Thunder Rosa backstage interview. Nyla Rose gives Thunder Rosa a cake, and they want to celebrate having the world's shortest title reign. That is the dumbest way to freaking celebrate. Rosa then shoves the cake into the face of Nyla Rose, but by accident, Rose hits Vicky. And then both Rose and Rosa brawl. Honestly, I did not like this segment whatsoever. It sucked. I don't give a shit. My problem, the thing about it is we've seen this with Hikaru Shida, and we've seen this with Britt Baker. Their first opponents after winning the AEW Women's Championship was against Nyla Rose. I never understood that. And not only that, you really, it kind of, I was already turned off from this feud from the moment Vicky Guerrero came and interrupted Thunder Rosa when she was about to cut her first promo after winning the championship. To me, that was the dumbest thing to do, because if they wanted to have Vicky Guerrero come in and interrupt Thunder Rosa, they should have done it the week later. And with Thunder Rosa in her first week as champion, they should have had her cut a really heartfelt promo, but they did that the week after Vicky Guerrero interfered, which made no sense to me. And honestly, I'm not really interested in Nyla Rose versus Thunder Rosa. Granted, they're doing this at Battle of the Belts, but still, I just believe that, really, I'm not really going to be interested in this match. And we got the Battle of the Belts card. So Battle of the Belts is actually looking to be a really good show. Jonathan Gresham is actually going to be wrestling. Yes, he's going to be defending the Ring of Honor World Championship against Dalton Castle, which I believe he was a former Ring of Honor World Champion. Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he was. But that's going to be great. Sammy Guevara is going to be facing Scorpio Sky for the TNT Championship. And also, Thunder Rosa defends her AEW Women's Championship against Nyla Rose. This is my thing on Battle of the Belts, right? And I stated this in my Battle of the Belts 1 review, and I will continue to state it until AEW changes it. My problem with Battle of the Belts is not really, the show itself, because the first Battle of the Belts was really good. I definitely enjoyed the first Battle of the Belts. It was a good show. My problem was there was no real importance to it. When AEW announced that they were going to be moving to TBS, and also this is when they announced Rampage and they announced that they were going to have quarterly specials on TNT. I expected, them to go all out when it came to these TNT specials. But honestly, number one, the shows are 1 hour. To me, that makes no sense. Why the hell would you have a special 4 times a year only at 1 hour? It should be 2 hours. Not only that, one of my biggest problems with this week's Battle of the Belts 2, I might add, is the show is not live. The show is taped. Why? It makes no sense for the show to be taped. It makes absolutely no sense. If this is a show that's only going to be happening 4 times a year, I should be extremely excited about it. And I'm still going to watch it. I'm excited for it. But let's be honest. Am I excited for it like I was like the WrestleMania or a Revolution pay-per-view? No, I'm not. It's not. This show is really, to be quite honest with you, and I'm telling the God's honest truth here, it's not as big of a deal. It's not really important, even though we're going to be having Jonathan Gresham wrestle on the show, and that's great. Having Ring of Honor representation on the show is great because it builds the foundation for the future Ring of Honor brand that AEW is going to put out. But still, it makes no sense that Battle of the Belts is not really having that full emphasis on it. the AEW's not really putting full emphasis on Battle of the Belts, and they really need to. So hopefully, I pray right now, I pray to God right now that once Battle of the Belts 3 comes around, they fix all those issues, because they really need to fix Battle of the Belts. Like, Dynamite is way more important than Battle. Of course, Dynamite is the main show, but Rampage is more important than Battle of the Belts, to be quite honest with you. Rampage is more important than it. Like, to be quite honest with you, that shouldn't be the case. Battle of the Belts, if it's happening 4 times a year, it needs to matter, and it needs to be important, and I do not see that. That is my major gripe with Battle of the Belts. And this is coming from somebody that loved the first battle. It was a great show. I loved it. The matches were great, but there's no real reason behind it. That's the problem. You know, hopefully, when they do Battle of the Belts 3, they fix it. I hope they do that, because, you know, Battle of the Belts 2 is still going to be a good show, but number one, man, the show is taped. You can't have a Battle of the Belts and have it be a taped show. This is supposed to be their Saturday night's main event / the WCW's Clash of the Champions. And Clash of the Champions had way more importance than Battle of the Belts. It's the same as Saturday night's main event. I'm sorry. I'm telling the God's honest truth here. All right. We get a video package for Adam Cole versus Hangman Page in a Texas death match. Overall, it's going to be an awesome-ass match. And honestly, you know, this is a match that should have happened on Battle of the Belts, to be quite honest with you. But Rampage is going to be live this week, so it makes perfect sense. But we got our main event. We got Minoru Suzuki versus Samoa Joe for the Ring of Honor World Television Championship, of course. Minoru Suzuki won the Ring of Honor Television Championship at Supercard of Honor. And honestly, it was a pretty good match. Of course, Suzuki is really, you know, he's known for his craziness. But overall, this is a great match. Now, what I'm going to be saying about this match is this match was a complete chop fest. And I mean that in the good way, man. Bro, these chops that these guys were killing each other with was insane. Like, bro, these guys were murdering each other when it comes to these chops. But overall, it was a great match, and the crowd was 100% on their feet. It was a great match. Great closing match, in my opinion. You know, as someone who's not really as in tune with the history of Minoru Suzuki, because I remember when he came in, I did not know who the hell he was. And I'm telling the God's honest truth right here, right now. I did not know who Minoru Suzuki is, mainly because of the fact that I do not follow New Japan Pro Wrestling. But overall, man, you know, Minoru Suzuki, ever since he came to AEW, I've been really invested in it. And not only that, man, his theme song is the best theme song. Okay, it's not the best theme song, but man, it's up there. I love his theme song. I don't care what anybody says. I love his theme song, and I love the Kazanirare. I remember when I was at the Prudential Center last September for Dynamite. Bro, when he came out, the entire place said Kazanirare. It was fucking amazing. But overall, man, this match was great. The majority of this match was basically chops. And when I say chops, I mean, I'm talking about stiff-ass chops. But Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt are on our ringside, on the front row. Of course, Sanjay Dutt and Jay Lethal did turn heel at Supercard of Honor, so they're definitely going to be feuding right now. They're currently in a feud with Samoa Joe. Both Suzuki and Joe face off. We get an overhand chop by Suzuki. We get a chop by Joe. Both exchange shots. We get a couple of elbows by Joe. We get a chop by Joe. We get an overhand chop by Suzuki. And here's when both exchange chops like crazy. We get repeated rights by Joe. Suzuki no-sells them. We got a whole chop war going on. We get a bunch of this is awesome chants. Both exchange shots again. We get a couple of right elbows. Then we get a forearm shot to the face of Joe. Suzuki then runs into a shoulder tackle by Joe. Suzuki then applies an arm breaker onto the rope of Joe. Joe then is in control. Then he applies a submission. Then Suzuki's in control. We get a kick to the chest of Joe. We get a cover by Suzuki and a near fall. Suzuki and Joe then exchange chops once again. Suzuki hits a sleeper. Then Joe goes for the side slam. We get a couple of chops by Joe. Then Suzuki hits a dropkick. And then he applies a side headlock. Suzuki then wants to go for the gotch-style pile driver, but then Joe escapes. Joe then gains control. Suzuki is on the top, but then Joe catches Suzuki. And what happens? He hits the all-famous Samoa Joe's finisher, the Muscle Buster. So he hits the Muscle Buster, and we get a cover. 1, 2, 3. Samoa Joe is the new Ring of Honor World Television Champion. And overall, I think this is a great decision. I believe one of the main reasons why they did this is because, of course, Minoru Suzuki, I don't think he's officially signed with Ring of Honor or AEW. He only does appearances then and there. But Samoa Joe is signed, so you know it was the best decision for them to put the belt on Samoa Joe. But overall, it was a great match, pretty entertaining match in my opinion. I enjoyed it for what it was. This is, I just absolutely loved it. I was entertained by it, and I was definitely I was not like on my feet like this is like the greatest match of all time, but I loved the match. It was definitely a fun match to watch. But here's where the things go downhill, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about this before I get out of here. Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt give him a present. Of course, they said last week on Dynamite that they were going to give Samoa Joe a present. So they have this whole present gift. They open the gift, and immediately you thought it was Eric Rowan's spider, but it wasn't. But they open the gift, and what happens? It's Jay Lethal's middle finger. So they flip the bird. But then what happens? The lights go out, right? The lights go out, and I was on a Twitter space when this happened, right? And I'm going to talk about this. So I was on a Twitter space when this happened. I'm usually on a Twitter space just talking to some friends, while watching Dynamite, talking about the show. And when the lights were out, we expected somebody like Claudio, like somebody on the Twitter space mentioned Claudio, which honestly, I was like, yeah, it should be Claudio. It should be somebody big. If the lights are going out, it should be somebody big, right? No, the lights go back on, and it's somebody like big as hell. A lot of people were saying, oh my God, it's AEW's version of the Great Khali, which is hilarious. I believe Great Khali was trending. But no, it was Satnam Singh, who was the first Indian NBA basketball player. Correct me if I'm wrong. And he attacks Joe, and he does the whole Great Khali thing, and he goes on Joe like that. And after that, Jay Lethal hits the lethal injection on Joe, and they all stand tall. What are my thoughts on this? This was a train wreck. I don't give a shit what anybody says. This was a complete train wreck, and it was absolutely terrible. The reason why I say this was terrible is because of the fact that, and it's not really because it's Satnam Singh. It's how he debuted. That is the main problem that I have. It was how he debuted, man. Like, that was the problem that I really had, because if the lights go out in an AEW show or in any AEW, like ECW was synonymous with this type of stuff, especially with Sabu. Sabu was like the master of like the lights going out and him popping up out of nowhere. He's like the master of that shit. But the problem with this is if the lights go out, right? When the lights go out, you expect somebody to, you expect a big name. Like, again, as I stated earlier, I was on a Twitter space and somebody instantly was like, oh my God, it's Claudio. And I was like, oh, it could possibly be Claudio. But then when the lights came out, I was like, who the fuck is this? That was the problem. And it's not really Satnam Singh. The problem was nobody knew who the hell he was. There was really like no genuine reaction. Like, you heard like, who is this guy? Like, chants. Like, honestly, you did not know who the hell this guy was. So again, how am I supposed to take this guy seriously if you dim the lights out, and all of a sudden somebody that we do not know pops up? That was the problem with this segment, and that is what made this segment really, really disappointing. I don't care what anybody says. You can say, oh my God, he was an NBA player. Yes, okay, I get it, but it's not really him. The problem was the way he debuted. The way he debuted was not the correct way for him to debut. I'm sorry. If you're going to have the lights go out, for somebody, it has to be somebody big. It can't be somebody you do not know. I'm sorry. Again, AEW really needs to stop with this type of stuff. I'm sorry. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if any of the AEW neckbeards get pissed off by it. I don't give a shit. I'm telling the God's honest truth. You can't have the lights go out and just have somebody that you don't know pop up. The point of the lights going out is for somebody huge to pop up out of nowhere. That is the main purpose of the lights going out. Why do you think Sabu is like synonymous with that type of shit? Or Undertaker? Because there's somebody big. Meanwhile, we don't even know who this guy is. But the main reason why this guy is signed. So apparently the main reason for this. So Dave Meltzer talks about this. And as I'm reading this from F4W Online. So AEW has been on television on the Discovery-owned channel Eurosport India. A deal with Tony Khan made based on the impending merger. A part of the first week after the Discovery merger, Tony Khan wanted to shoot an angle that would be a breakthrough in that market for using some renown in that country as the only Indian-born player to ever be drafted to the NBA. While Singh was the second-round draft choice in the Dallas Mavericks in 2015, even though he never played college basketball or pro basketball overseas. So he wanted to expand to the Indian market, and that is great. That is great. The more AEW expands, business is getting much better for them. But the problem, and the problem with this is My only issue with this was the way it played out, man. It's not really him. It's the way it played out. You know, a lot of people say like, oh, I don't really like big men a lot. You know, that's one of the reasons why a lot of people do not like Omos. Same as myself. I'm not really that big of a fan of Omos, to be quite honest. I feel like he's kind of cringe in my opinion. But honestly, like, you know, to me, the problem that I had with this was the way the debut played out. That was my main issue. I'm like, you got to stop with this type of stuff, man. Like, this is a pure example of Tony, like of them overhyping shit. You know, they did this with Christian Cage last year. They did it with the exploding barbed wire. Granted, the barbed wire match, you know, it kind of happened, like, off their control, but, like, still. Like, you know, I mean, come on now. You know, but still, like, you know, the debut... What are my thoughts on it? It was a complete train wreck. I don't give a crap who says anything. I'm just telling the truth. And everybody else on Twitter like stated this. Like this shit sucked. It sucked. I don't care what anybody says. It sucked. But yeah, that was my Dynamite review. So those are my thoughts on that. We also got a huge Tony Khan announcement. Yes, Tony Khan is back at it with his announcements. And honestly, look, you know, this announcement could be huge. But if it's a signing, like, look, I like when AEW signs people. I don't care what anybody says. I actually enjoy that. But to me, that's not the equivalent of a huge announcement. You know, if it's a huge announcement, a lot of people are saying it's going to be a streaming deal or a possible television show for Ring of Honor. If Ring of Honor is going to be on HBO Max, we'll have to wait and see. Or maybe it can be for Double or Nothing to be on HBO Max. Hopefully, I hope it's an HBO Max deal. Because if it's a huge announcement, then it has to be an HBO Max deal. Okay, period. You know, the last huge announcement was big. You know, the Ring of Honor deal was big. But if this is just a normal signing, okay, that's not really the equivalent of a huge... Now, granted, if they signed a guy like Bray Wyatt, a.k.a. Wyndham Rotunda, that is huge. But I wouldn't necessarily say, Tony Khan... Like, I wouldn't necessarily, like, have, you know, you announce that Tony Khan is going to have a massive announcement the week prior. I would just let it play out, like, the way it would play out. But, like, you know... It's like Tony Khan kind of like has a big announcement every week. And look, I love AEW through and through. I think they're the better product of the WWE, okay? But like, you know, you can't just be biased and be like, oh, AEW is perfect. That's the problem that these AEW diehards have. Same thing with the WWE diehards. Like both equally are absolutely stupid. AEW diehards and WWE diehards are like honestly the most stupidest people on the internet. Period. I don't care what anybody says. I'm telling the God's honest truth. But, you know, hopefully, I hope this huge announcement is a huge announcement, and I hope it's definitely a big deal, and I hope it is a HBO Max deal, because that's where it's really more leaning to. But, yeah, man, overall, that was my Dynamite review. Overall, this show was a pretty good show, but honestly, the biggest problem with the show was really the ending. The ending was really, really disappointing. Not really a good look. I don't want to say a good look on the, because you know it's a big deal for them breaking out to the Indian market, but creatively it's not really a good look, and honestly people were really disappointed. So yeah, man, that was my AEW Dynamite review. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications, and be on the lookout for more videos right here on the Broken Havoc podcast. And yeah, as always, it is Broken Havoc signing out.